Guys, we've been over the best of 2022 when it comes to sneakers, and there's been a lot of really solid drops. However, today we're going the other way. I'm talking the biggest sneaker flops of 2022. These are sneakers that were positioned to be the next big thing, but ended up being just dead in the water. So let's get into it. Starting at my 7th pick, the Adidas Forum Low. Adidas is copping a place on this list for having a sneaker with a massive rise, but then a pretty hard fall. The Adidas Forum silhouette actually cropped up at what seemed to be the perfect time. They were perfectly positioned to be Adidas's answer to the Nike Dunk. Dunks were being pumped by Nike. They still are to this day and are one of Nike's most popular sneakers right now. And the Adidas Forum kind of had the perfect hero arc. It's a retro silhouette from the 80s that Adidas decided to bring back. I mean, Michael Jordan even wore this pair of shoes, so it was a direct competitor to Jordans and Dunks. They had great materials. In fact, the materials were way better than what the Nike Dunk was offering. And they were only $100, so construction-wise, in terms of materials, they actually seemed better value than the Nike Dunk. Not to mention they had some banging collaborations, like the Bad Bunny collab. Actually, that might be the only good collaboration that they had. I mean, unless you're a big fan of Home Alone or M&M's. Oh, or the Prada collaboration, just the all-black sneaker that was over $1,000. So in terms of collaborations, there was a lot of misses that Adidas had in terms of trying to bring a lot of publicity and hype to the Adidas Forum. Now look, I personally really like the Adidas Forum silhouette as it is. I just think that Adidas completely dropped the ball with bringing hype to this silhouette. They did too many collaborations that just seemed forced, and they dropped too many unnecessary colorways. So inevitably, the Adidas Forum had a huge rise and a pretty sharp fall. To this day, you can find quite a lot of these different collaborations on sale, including a bunch of high and low top colorways that are also pretty steeply discounted. I think Adidas could have done a better job with this silhouette, some better collaborations, and with Bad Bunny now moving on to other silhouettes or leaving Adidas completely, the Forum is very unlikely to be the next big thing that Adidas wanted them to be. Coming in at my number 6 pick is Nike's iSpa line. This one's pretty sad for me because I personally really loved the idea of Nike's inspiration with this project. Improvise, scavenge, protect, and adapt. And from that motto, from that idea of this collection, Nike came up with some absolutely insane stuff. The Road Warrior was absolutely incredible in terms of design. Yes, it looked insane, and maybe it's not even the most practical sneaker to put on your feet, but it was futuristic. It challenged the idea of sneaker design. They also did the 720s, which I thought were pretty cool, and even the Overreact was incredibly comfortable. I love the idea that Nike had a specific design department just dedicated to creating some of the most innovative and futuristic sneakers. But this year, Nike's iSpa seemed to really just fall apart, literally. This year, Nike dropped a sneaker called the iSpa Link. And the idea behind this pair of sneakers is that you can take them apart. You can separate the upper from the midsole. And that's fine, there's nothing wrong with that, except for the fact that it's completely useless. Like literally, when I was reading through the whole design idea behind the iSpa Link, the only reason I could find that Nike created this pair of shoes was to make it more easy to recycle, which makes it even more useless of a sneaker. Like, you know what would make this sneaker even easier to recycle? If it just didn't exist. Like literally, not having a sneaker to recycle at all would be way better than creating a sneaker just strictly to make it easier to put it in a shredder. Now, I didn't want to harp on the looks of this sneaker because I guess that's kind of subjective. I mean, personally, I think this is one of the ugliest sneakers that dropped in 2022, but they're just not even comfortable. They're not practical. There's nothing about this pair of shoes that really makes it compelling. Oh, and in terms of the iSpa line redeeming itself, well, check out what they're going to be dropping in 2023. A literal horror movie in sneaker form. Like, this is something that looks like it was found in a serial killer's house. So yes, in my opinion, the iSpa collection was really destroyed in 2022 and probably in 2023. It's gone. Next up on my list is Adidas 4D. This one is on the list for just sheer lack of innovation. 4D technology was supposed to be the next big thing for sneakers. It was supposed to revolutionize the way that people found and enjoyed running sneakers. And it had it all. It had insanely good marketing just from the fact that it looked super futuristic. Even the way that this 4D midsole was created was incredibly futuristic. But all of these promises were made back when 4D technology first got launched. And to this day, it's never really come to fruition. It was supposed to be used for runners. You would have the ability to go and have a scan of your foot, and they would 3D print this midsole to the exact specifications of your individual actual foot. But what 4D ended up being in 2022 was just kind of a marketing thing. Like, I've never heard of a runner who has specifically said that they love 4D over any other cushioning on the market, and they actually run in a 4D sneaker. It's a heavy midsole, it's not very well cushioned, and it's not very soft underfoot either. And this year, Adidas hasn't done anything with this 4D cushioning. They've slapped this midsole on a bunch of different Ultra Boost sneakers. Some of the newer designs that they made was the 4D Fusio, and that sneaker is literally a pair of shoes with a plastic cover to make it appear more futuristic than it actually is. And I think the biggest innovation was the 4D forward technology, kind of a different shape that was supposed to propel you forward. But at the end of the day, 4D still has the same downsides, which is it's a lot more expensive, it's heavier, and it's less cushioning than even Boost. So for that, Adidas 4D definitely gets to be on this list of one of the biggest flops this year. Next up on my list is the Jordan 2. So the Jordan 2 model had a massive push this year from Jordan Brand, and I think a lot of people wanted to like this sneaker, and obviously I get that there's definitely people that do really love the Jordan 2. But towards the end, let's face it, most of the Jordan 2s that we've seen drop this year have ended up sitting on shelves. I think the Union collaboration and even Amam and Yer really did bring something different to the Jordan 2 silhouette, and I think they did a great job. I think both of these shoes are decent for what they are. It's never been up there and held in the same regard as a lot of other Jordan sneakers. If you ask most people, they would pick the 1, the 3, the 4, the 5, even the 6 over a pair of 2s. And I just think it's because the design is not as timeless as some of those other models, and that's completely fine. But I do think that the Jordan 2 silhouette provided something a little bit different. It gave us a little bit of a break away from Jordan 1s and Dunks. So I think that it dropped at a decent time. I think that they did a little bit too much with some of the collaborations, but I think ultimately the expectations for the Jordan 2 were just way too big for what this sneaker could actually accomplish. Next up on my list is the Nike Air Trainer, and this one, not even the Travis Scott treatment could save this pair of shoes. These seemed to be like one of the biggest come and go sneakers for 2022. It was like all of a sudden Nike started dropping collaborations. Nike started bringing back some of the more iconic colorways of the Air Trainer, but none of them hit. And now it's pretty hard to find a sale rack without a pair of Air Trainers in there, and even the Travis Scott, the most hyped Air Trainer for 2022, is under retail. Next up on my list is the Nike Dunk High 1985. This is another sneaker that came and went super quickly in 2022. They popped up with a bunch of interesting colorways and a bunch of collaborations, and again, they disappeared. And I think the idea behind the sneaker was pretty simple. I mean, Nike were literally throwing dunks out there left, right, and center, and they're kind of still doing that to this day. But of course, Nike being Nike, they weren't just happy with regular dunks, SB dunks, Nike Dunk Highs. They wanted to introduce the Nike Dunk High 85. This 85 cut of a pair of dunks was so different to a regular dunk that it was hard to wear. Like, literally, the sneaker was so narrow, and if you got your true to size, they were painfully small. Like, you had to at least go a size up to be able to wear this pair of shoes. But I think overall they dropped some interesting colorways. They had a special retro packaging, and they did some okay collaborations, but now you can find all of these on sale. Next up on my list is the Nike Cortez. Now, this one doesn't seem to be fully killed off yet, but I think it will. So this year, amongst a bunch of other sneakers, Nike tried to bring the hype back to the Nike Cortez. They got Union to do a collaboration with a bunch of different colorways. They even got Sakai involved. And this is actually a sneaker that I thought was pretty interesting and had some legs to it. And I actually think that the Sakai collaboration had a solid design. Like, I actually think it looks pretty good. There's a huge practical design flaw in that Sakai collaboration where the midsole is so incredibly narrow that this sneaker becomes literal ankle snappers. Like, it is literally unstable to walk around in, to the point where you feel like you're gonna roll your ankle at any step. Now, I also never really thought that the Union collaboration looked amazing, but I have definitely seen some people pull them off and actually make this sneaker look pretty dope. I'm not gonna say it's a complete flop in general, but honestly, I haven't seen a really compelling option when it comes to the Nike Cortez in terms of collabs and new colorways. And upcoming in 2023, they're gonna be doing a clock collaboration, but at the same time, I can't really see these things doing anything crazy in terms of the hype of the Nike Cortez. So in my opinion, the push by Nike for the Cortez, I think, is ultimately doomed. But there you have it, guys. That is my list of the biggest sneaker flops for 2022. What can we expect in 2023? Well, I'll break that down in another video upcoming very soon. Feel free to leave your thoughts down in the comment section. Thank you so much for coming through, hanging out for yet yet again another video. Thank you for liking, commenting, and of course subscribing. I'll catch you guys in the next one. But until then.